Hello, everyone. This is David Barazin. Today we have Adrian Miranda. He is the creator of a web series called Gross Anatomy. So, Adrian, can you tell us a little bit more about your new show?
Yeah, it's so actually it might be easier to start with my background. I'm a physical therapist who got into video production. I've been a therapist for 12 years. Got into video production in 2017 with the hopes to create some type of narrative, educational series about movement science and how the body works to prevent injuries and to improve injuries. So the web series and every right now it's like short form content, but I'm developing narrative over the pandemic. Actually, I started in March, and it's set to be produced. So I created a mix of a narrative and an educational program, and that's what Gross Anatomy is about.
That's really awesome. So, how did you basically come up with the idea for this show?
Hmm. Well, it was like just a bunch of pieces came together in my life. The idea was always there. For example, I actually grew up in Washington Heights. The musical In the Heights is about my neighborhood.
Yep.
I couldn't really, go outside and play. I wasn't really allowed to. It was too violent. And so TV was escapism for me. So I kind of grew up watching Spanish telenovelas. I watched the news. I watched how the news, novelas and the news were powerful. Like everybody, whatever the news said, everybody the next day would go out and buy it. Like if avocados could heal your eyesight, everybody bought. Like it was fake news, but people would go out and buy avocados. Novellas, everybody was watching the same one. It was almost like Netflix now, like Stranger Things, like
Yeah.
that. As a kid, I saw the power of television, so that ingrained in me. Then there was this impersonator called Julio Zavala, who impersonated like everybody, like Michael Jackson, Celia Cruz. It was really like Latin people, but he would make a comedic type of thing out of it. So, but it was like spot on. Like he could sing, but it was still goofy. Like all the mannerisms were like spot on, and it was just hilarious. So he was someone that really influenced me. Bill Nye the Science Guy, very
I love Bill
influential,
Nye.
right? Bill Nye. And then as I kind of get older, just seeing a lot of like amazing films I love, like Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise's, Martin Scorsese films. All those things kind of impacted me where I was like, well, people love this stuff. And when I went to physical therapy school, I knew that I was like, all the information I was getting in school, I was like, wait, this is easily like educationable, if that's a real word. Like this is easily taught. It's not like it's a different than like a profession like dentistry where you need like tools to be in your mouth and like someone has to be in there. A lot of the stuff you can do, like similar to the nutrition, like you can do a lot of it on your own with the right guidance. So I saw that quickly. And in school, I said, I want to be on TV. I want to create something. I don't know what it is yet, but let me become a really great physical therapist first. So I did a residency. I did I'm all but dissertation for a PhD. So I did a lot of training. I taught at Toro College for about 6 years. Then when I quit that about 3 years ago, I focused on media and film. So I worked at a studio as a studio manager for a small production company, making like corporate videos and weddings. And then just things started coming together when the pandemic hit. I found a development company called, oh my gosh, it's escaping me right now. Like I just blanked out. The development company, it'll come back to me
Yeah.
uh, in LA with people who've been in the industry, producers, and so they developed everything for me. But
Wow.
they just taught me the beat sheet, the treatment, the one pager, show Bible, the actual script writing. So everything was out of me. Like I really like I created everything. Like all the pen to paper was me. They just kind of pulled all that creativity out. So when I really wanted to create a sketch comedy selfishly because as a Hispanic male in theater, I started doing theater about 2017, 2000. No, sorry, I was 27, so it was about 8, 10 years ago. I started doing theater. 2012, which is when I started doing video production and learning. I realized that I was never going to get the lead role of like in Les Mis or Phantom. So it was Bernardo and West Side Story, and that was about like as far as I was gonna go, unless there was like new shows. I got a call back for Pippin at one point, like 3 years ago, but you know, so I knew that the barrier to entry for me to become a leading male in any kind of classical musical theater or play was going to be really, really hard. So I kind of was like, let me make my own thing. And that's kind of where it was. I did like a musical theater one-man show similar to the web series where I created 4 characters like John Leguizamo did. But I always wanted to do television. And so what happened when I finished the development, which is a pitch deck that I sent you, um, I decided to, instead of a sketch comedy where it's like Dave Chappelle comes out and does a monologue, right? I
Yeah.
decided to be like a teacher. And the narrative was going to be kind of like Glee, like there was a barrier, there was a journey I had to accomplish. And so the teacher is an ex physical therapist who has to teach a bunch of rowdy, crazy students about, how the body works, or else he fails out. And that's kind of what this web series is going to be about. Um, and so instead of the monologue that Dave Chappelle comes out, Key and Peele does, it's the teacher having to create a journey. There's a journey for the teacher, and the audience member are the students in the classroom, and the sketches are the educational content. So there's a lot of different pop culture things that I want to do, because I wanted to dress up and be ridiculous, partly because I wanted to kind of be able to be the star in my show and give other people the opportunity. So like, if I were to leave one day, Dr. Dennis, it could be a male or a female. Anybody can kind of replace me.
Like a substitute teacher.
Yeah, pretty much, exactly. And so, even the students, like there's a Kevin who's supposed to be a Black character. Anybody can replace him, any age group. For the web series, we're just gonna have kind of a set for people because of COVID and just because of space and things like that. But it was meant to be kind of a diverse, inclusive kind of environment that's educational. And so the sketch comedy came in, and they just were able to be plugged in. So that's kind of what happened was, it's the pilot was for fifth grade class, but in truthfully, it's a PG-13 show. It's really a
Okay.
PG-13 show, and I meant it to be kind of, so Bill Nye apparently was meant to be for like 7 to 10 year olds, just like in that demographic, and it ended up being like an adult show too, like it won adult Emmys. So
Yeah.
that's
Like kids
kind
and
of,
adults liked him.
right, exactly. So that's kind of the impetus. Now, if you do something that's like 17 and above, guess what? 15-year-olds are going to want to watch sneakily, and they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to make it where it's kind of like I push the limits, but it's still wholesome. Like there's not gonna be like, if it's like nudity, it's to be like fully censored, and it's like, man, like, I have, before the web series, I have a couple of like shorts coming out, like a Freddie Mercury one I'm filming like in the next 2 days, where like I'm on the can, like, taking a
The
dump.
toilet?
Yeah, I'm on the toilet,
Oh,
but you can see anything, like that's pushing the boundary of like nudity and like kind of being,
yeah.
rated R. But
Tasteful.
it's tasteful, and it's silly. So it's, like, we did Nerf guns the other day, but like for the web series and narrative part, it's meant to be for like 13 and up, really. And if, younger kids, if I can have an episode or two that's really like very childish, then yeah, we might do like an Avenue Q kind of spoof where it's like puppets, where all the characters are now puppets, for the sketch. And it talks about like back pain or knee pain or ankle pain. So yeah, so that's what happened was I used Open Gate Entertainment. Open Gate Entertainment. They're based in LA. So they helped me kind of develop that. And then I have an entertainment lawyer who's representing me, and we're kind of shopping it around right now for the full TV series. In the meantime, it's just like get on the web, right? So like I was doing a lot of little things, showing it on social media. And now it's like really organized as a proof of concept, as a web series. If nothing else, like I'll just stay on the web. But at least my dream was to create a narrative.
Yeah.
It took a long time because like, how do you meld a narrative with educational healthcare content? Right now it's like a talking head, like, hey, if you have neck pain, you should, strengthen your shoulder, you should stretch your shoulder, stretch your back. And it's just like a talking head with maybe a graphic or two. I didn't want to do that. And then my older brother, God bless him, he's my best friend. He's always giving me advice. He works for Google, and he's like a top engineer, so he knows a lot about the web and things like that. And he's, you just make it really simple, just talk and give information. I'm like, that's not me. I don't want to do that, And so I kind of, right now, I think I'm at the doorstep of like exactly what my brain was thinking back when I was like a kid, when I was in PT school early on, being like, I want to be on TV, but I want to be a little bit different, but not too different where it's just like unachievable. Like I just want to kind of steal from bits and pieces and just kind of recreate something that people will watch. Just like, we all talk about Queen's Gambit, Stranger Things. Like it may not be to that level, but like, Bill Nye the Science Guy, I say it and everybody's like has a smile on their face and kind of recognizes it. So that's kind of what happened. I'm at the doorstep of like, I'm actually making the pilot for the web series. So it's gonna be short form, be like 5 minutes. We're filming the part of it, the opening, the cold open on Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
So,
That
yeah,
quick.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it was because I laid the foundation down for like a 30-minute episodic series, this summer and during the pandemic. So when I got somebody who said, we want to see a proof of concept, I was like, oh no, I have to And I was like, wait, no, I know how to produce. I know everything. You know, I got a DP. I have people who are really like see my vision, thankfully, as actors. Um, and so I just kind of watered it down. So instead of it being like 30-minute episodic, and I just have to do 5 minutes, almost like a sizzle reel meets a pilot for a web series. So I just have to condense everything, make it kind of really quick. But yeah, I just said, you know, let me just kind of forget about these little short contents that I had planned, and then let me just go right into the web series and get the narrative going. And here we are. But it took a long time. Like it took, you know, I was double dipping in my career. Like I was working as a physical therapist, you know, 30 hours a week, and also working in media and learning media and like doing, you know, I did everything. I know at Premiere, After Effects, I was even given Unreal Engine. So, you know, green screening, VFX, masking, all that stuff. So I did that partly because now I understand the limits of production. And if I need somebody, I can tell them, like I have an editor now, just only recently, and I'm able to kind of tell them exactly what I want. And sometimes I'm like, you know, do your thing, like be creative. I need somebody else's collaboration and artistic sense because it might kind of build me up. You know, it might help the idea. So the communication is much quicker because I can tell someone, hey, I want you to use the 1.8. I would use one, you know, use 50 millimeter. I want you to get a wide shot. I want you to kind of pan across or dolly in. Like I can have those conversations before we even get to the set. So that's been kind of useful. So I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, that's good that so you know exactly like what to do and what shots you want and just make it easier on everybody.
Yeah, pretty much. So we get to set. I mean, the DP knows exactly what I need. The DP knows the script. Yeah, everybody knows what they're supposed to do on the day of filming. Now, don't get me wrong. There's times where you're like, this sounded good in my head, but it doesn't look good on camera, or
Yeah.
this sounds it's actually doable. So there that does happen, and I'm at the point where it's like I want to. I've been siloed for so long. Like a lot of stuff I've been doing solo. Like only in the past year I've been able to collaborate and have someone be a camera person, and I'd be like, you know, tell me what to do. Like I'll do whatever you want. You know, the concept is there, the injury, the educational stuff is there. But I'm at the point where I really want to collaborate. You know, because I know that this is a second career for me. I've been in the film for like 8 years. Like I've been on like one set where it was a short film for like they won the Sundance Film Festival. They
Oh,
saw it to
nice.
play, but I was like the assistant to the producer. But I got to be around that, you know, and saw
Yeah.
the amazing teamwork. So I still can learn from other people who've been a DP like since film school, you know, like that's their thing. I know a lot about it, but I definitely will. I'm at the point where like I want somebody else to tell me, Adrian, you know, for this episode, it would be really good to actually use a gimbal. It would be great to be just handheld and rough. It should be on the sticks. Like we should use a lot of kind of really quick pacing and like you know pan the camera over to that character. Like I'm open to that at this point, which is what I want. You know, I've been alone for so long that I want that collaboration because I just, you know, like I talked to actually Jeff Deverett. He's a director, numerous like Lifetime movies and like feel good sports movies. Like Full Out is on Netflix and Full Out 2, and he's like, it's the greatest feeling. It's just like a bunch of people come together creating this beautiful thing, and he's like, you'll be floating on clouds. And recently, when collaborating with people, like usually now it's only like an actor and a DP, and I did have somebody like direct it. She was an actor too, directed, and I just felt it was so awesome. Like it was like just floating. It's true. It's like a tiny little production, like really, really tiny. So I'm at the point where because I know all these different factors of production, I'm able to communicate the idea, and then I want somebody else to just run with it and make it better. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
It is, yeah, and I can say that's really nice feeling too, having worked on, you know, a bunch of film sets myself. How is it like filming during COVID? What challenges are you encountering?
Everything, of course, everything, everything. You know, the one thing, the cool thing is that well, I think I had COVID. Pretty sure I had COVID in February before it was
Oh,
even a thing. My mother had it. She has antibodies, so I moved back home, which is kind of a blessing. She has antibodies, and obviously I can't just bring anybody in. You know, I really can't. Like I kind of my friends, I met them. I can kind of vouch for them. They're at home. They're unemployed, so thankfully, you know, I do have a little part-time job to pay the bills, and I can help them out. But yeah, we're masking up. I wish I could for example, let me think. There's something I wanted to do that I was like, yeah, COVID can't do that. Oh, well, for example, like I wanted to bring in a sound mixer, which I'm still likely gonna do it, but there's gonna be way too many people in the room, like the 6 feet apart and the distancing.
yeah.
Gonna be like 8 feet apart, to be honest, actually. Even though it's a classroom, it's a good space, but I have plenty of space. But to bring an extra person in to do the sound, like that kind of makes me a little bit nervous. And so if it's somebody who I knew and I knew what their lifestyle was like, way easier, way more comfortable. So I'm gonna do it myself pretty much, like for at least like one part. I might like in the future, I'm a physical therapist, so like I just got an email from my association saying that we might be able to get the vaccine.
Oh,
So
nice.
because I'm a healthcare worker,
Yeah.
so that may be something that changes everything, for me, at least for like myself and, for other people, they're concerned. Other people are concerned to work with me too, you know? So like I can be like, hey, like I reached out to somebody to do another shoot. We're doing something at a clinic actually. I was making a video for a clinic and, she's like, I'm gonna be out of town and to go, it was our elections. And she's like, I have to quarantine when I get back. And I was like, well, we'll wait for you because she's a really good actress. And she's like, no, I just don't feel comfortable. I was like, that's fine. I'm not going to push it. Like, that was it. So I've had people kind of reject it because they're a little bit concerned about it, you know?
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
so, then I realized like a lot of people in the film and acting are really not, they're on unemployment and they're at home, not doing much. And so, those are things that make it tough it's a risk. Like no matter what, like you go outside, it's a risk. Like you have to go on the subway every now and then. I don't ride the subway that much at all. But when I do, it's definitely a risk. Someone
Yeah,
comes
of
in,
course.
oh my gosh, like get me off of this train. So there's no doubt that there's a risk. But at the same time, we're doing everything we can. Like for example, we're doing the Bruce Lee skit, and so it's a big space, so I can kind of like it's almost as if like I can punch myself here, right? I'm like actually this far away from me, so like we can do that, but everyone's gonna be masked up because it's an athletic scene. Now
Yeah.
the acting gonna be doing very little. Now there's Ryan who's in a lot of my skits. He's a tall guy. So that's kind of that's the only person who won't have a mask on during that part. And even when like I kill all the henchmen. The henchmen in any skit are the students in the class. So they're gonna be as soon as like they get slapped or something, they're gonna fall over and they're out of the scene. Like they can go hang out somewhere else. So it's a big space. We have a lot of space. We can kind of spread out. We have big windows we can open up. But it's challenging, like no doubt. Like there's plenty of stuff I'd want to do and like scream in each other's faces. And we can't really do that. It's very
Yeah.
like there's like a scene where we're close. Like it's like, all right, let's do the scene quickly, and then we like kind of separate. So those are things that are kind of also anybody who's sick, autoimmune disorders. I say no. Like I remember talking to somebody and I was like, do you have any health issues? Considering having another an actor for the web series, and has some gut issues and some things. So I was like, like I asked, that was the first question. Like, do you have any autoimmune issues? Most of the people I'm working with are like in their 30s. I'm 36, otherwise healthy. So those are things that I would definitely be like, yeah, you're not on this set. Like if you have an autoimmune problem, diabetic, any high blood pressure, anything like that, definitely not. Washing hands, the works. So that changes things. But I'm just not working with anybody. I can't shoot anywhere either. Like that's not happening.
Yeah, no, it's tough to do. It's tough to make those decisions, but of course, it's important to, keep everyone safe and make sure everyone's, being able to stay safe while you're making these good these great movies.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a different thing to think about in production now. Like actually, I'm a COVID compliance officer. I got certified in June or something, July. So that's a production. I was talking to a web series, huge web series, like millions and millions of views, and just tell them all the details of like how much it's going to cost for all the PPE, like two pairs of gloves for each person per day for 45 days. You have to get several thermostats that you have to measure. Obviously, the PVE for the face, sanitizing, automatic sanitizing booths. I think they're like $500 to rent for like a week. I think. Like I was like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. So luckily in the studio there's a bathroom as well. So and there's a lot of stuff that we can do. But yeah, so it's just tough for anybody. Did you hear about the Tom Cruise rant?
Yes, I did.
And so like I think like I can understand that. Like at one point, I'm sure like before that he was probably telling people, hey, please can you like not be there, don't be too close, like stay away. And when it's like that many people, like productions have a lot of people, like that type of production has a lot of people on set, so you're increasing the risk significantly. So I'm sure you just kind of had it, and I can understand. Like it'd be
Yeah.
like you guys are fired, nothing else. But the fact that you brought up like I'm talking to producers, insurance companies, jobs on the line, like that, I was like, oh wow, like that's I don't think that was a bad thing. It was like righteous anger, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine like it can be hard. Like if you're doing, sets for like, you're doing these productions for like decades and you're used to doing everything a certain way. And then like even like unconsciously, even if you don't mean it, you might, get too close to someone. So it's definitely kind of it's definitely kind of a major adjustment. And, I think people are even now probably still struggling to fully comply with these things.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so I don't do nearly as many, you know, um, like I would like to do a lot bigger things, with more people like more in your face. Like this, like my stuff's kind of quick. It's like in your face and weird and awkward. And so, you know, I can't have to think about my content differently. It has to be
Yeah.
like different. It can't be like completely like close 24/7. So there has to be like a weird distance that you see. Like in one episode with Ryan, like he's at my desk, but like I push him out, or I shove him out and things like that. So there's things you have to think about with script writing, production, even like for the web series, I have to think about it. Like everybody, like I had an idea where like Claire's character is yelling at Kevin's character, and she gets up and she gets in this, like she gets up and she's about to fight, like throw it
Yeah.
out, like hardcore, like it's this pretty girl's about to like knock you out, come into his face, and I was like, all right, never mind. So I'm just have her sit and just turn and face him, and like enough to be like, oh my gosh, she's about to get up. Like it's like what's more intimidating, like someone getting into your face or turning to you that you never expected and just like if she stands up this is over,
Yeah,
it's
like
like
a little more subtle, I think.
a little more subtle. So those are like things I had to change in the script where my first idea was like when I talked to him I was like I want you to like almost beat him up like almost like in this, and I was like no, I'm gonna be safe. So now she's just sitting in her chair and just turning and like just kind of like and doing and like just being like grunting and growling or something like that. But so those are ideas that you have to kind of nix. Where pre-COVID you could have done like choke him or something like that. Like, do fun things like that. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one of the things I think is intriguing about your web series is how it kind of educates people on, STEM subjects in kind of a fun, entertaining way. Like, I know for me personally, like science and particularly biology was always very boring to me. Like, I would just fall asleep in like bio class when I had these dry, long lectures. And I think that's for a lot of people, it's a challenge for these, subjects that are a bit more, analytical. And I think that's kind of interesting that you're bringing this education to students and just people in general in a very fun, interesting way that they can really get engaged in. I was wondering if maybe you could kind of speak more to that and about how that might help people in terms of educating them on these difficult subjects.
Wonderful question. And it's very timely. So the way what I've done recently, actually, I realized that there's a bigger purpose to this. Is So, for example, the other day we're doing the painted neck piece, and in the beginning, I told Ryan, I was like, so the reason for this is that you work on your shoulder muscles, like the band, like your back muscles, because sometimes if the back is really weak, the neck takes over, and your neck muscles get really tight. So just like I explained it to you, I had to explain it to my actor. And then he was
Right.
like, oh, that's really, I didn't know that. And he's, he's an actor guy, he's a martial artist as well. He's like, oh, that's good to know. Like he literally like thought was like, oh, so I saw that spark being like, oh, I can educate my actors. One, two, I can educate like even the DP. And so like I saw him kind of squat down kind of painfully, and I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna do an episode, and he'll kind of learn something from it. On the other end is you're right. Like I didn't like bio actually. Like we did like in college. In high school I had to take it, and college I had to take bio. I was kind of like the field paid that section was like my favorite part. But like uh, physics I love. Like physics I was like yeah I was good at it and I liked it. Um, but yeah, it's I'm actually writing a grant right now for the NIH to get funding. So like Bill Nye the Science Guy, the Magic School Bus got funded by the National Science Foundation. So I was thinking about I run through all these things. I just need money, like quick money, like capital, like right away. And so I'm looking at the National Science Foundation. Someone told me about NIH grants, stuff like that. What I realized that I'm also teaching technology, media, and and science, right? So what the plan is eventually is that I have like young adults, 17 over, so like junior, seniors in high school and above, in college, and grad students, or even adults, like it could be anything, to help minorities as well, Black and Latinos, get into these film careers. And so kind of the principle of the grant application is actually to bring in college age and above adults. It could be anything. It could be 50 years old. Doesn't matter. Like I just want you to be 17 and over, where you come in and you're like a production assistant and you kind of learn how to write. You sit with us in the storyboarding process and the concept raising, the beat sheet process, ideation process. You see the production happen. You assist with the DP or something like that, like hand me the 50mm lens. They know what it is. And then editing. They learn Premiere Pro. They learn the software. At the same time, if I tell them they're editing something, I'm like, wait, no, remember the hip reduces back pain. So the next cut should be to the back, not the knee. So, and then that kind of gets the science going. So that's kind of where I see it also, because this is, underserved communities, Washington Heights. I want to bring in, Black and Latino filmmakers. Eventually, I'd like to help rural people like white kids in Wisconsin who live in a trailer park, who have no future. That's also like a passion of mine. So you're learning technology, media, and now it's education too. Like I'm educating somebody in a narrative way that's entertaining. Like how do you do that? Right? Education is really like didactic. Like you stand in front
Yeah.
of the class and you yell at someone and you hope that, David doesn't fall asleep in bio class. But if you kind of can create it, like there's teachers who just have an amazing performance aspect to them that gets you to pay attention. That's really what my passion was. Like people, this is boring stuff. What I do is really boring. It really is. I might tell somebody, yeah, your back is coming from the fact that you hurt your shoulder when you were doing, pitching in college. Oh my, then they kind of get interested because it's a story. It's like a weird story that you're like, you connected the dots. So what I'm trying to do is kind of teach people behind the camera and in front of the camera about the human body. And I feel like it's indirectly, it's gonna fit in because the DP, I have to tell the DP, hey, I need you to get the shot from my waist down because this muscle actually attaches to my knee. I need you to get from my waist down because when I squat, you have to see the hip because I put a graphic on top of it to point to the hip. If the hip isn't in there, it makes the shot moot. Like it doesn't make a difference. So when I have people coming in from the outside who want to kind of learn, I've had people reach out to me. They want to be part of it. LinkedIn, they hit me up. I did send out the field. I have a physical therapy student who used to be a photographer, or she does this hobby. She's actually really good. She's a first year physical therapy student. She's going to be in it. And I just told her, I was like, she has a really cool look. She's Asian. She has glasses. She has purple hair.
Oh, wow.
I was like, you have an amazing look. Do you mind trying to act? And she's like, well, sure. I've never acted, but I was like, I don't care. Let's do it. So she's in it. So like in the meantime, she's gonna learn. Like I hope that she gets something out of it. So yeah, there's a science, there's a STEM component where it's like media, but then there's also the art component that people are like, back in I remember doing my first YouTube video in 2009, and I hired my buddy from college, and it was like $700, and I was like, there's no way I can afford this, and I want to do this every week, and that's why I kind of dug down and just studied myself, because even if I have to pay somebody, it's quick. They know exactly what they're doing the day they come in. Whereas you don't know the industry, you have to explain everything during the shoot date so that 3 hours turns into 6 hours. And you spend a lot more time. You don't know the language. But yeah, the goal is to kind of teach STEM, even the math. If you have to do, an expression, that's coding, in After Effects. You have to write an expression, that's math. You have to kind of calculate how many times to scale it up, how many times to kind of repeat it in the value system. So I realized there's so much depth into the gross anatomy part. It's not just like a fun narrative. It's actually a fun educational narrative that incorporates STEM. And I want to help young adults because that's the workforce, really. And so if I can train you you worked on this silly sketch comedy show for 6 months and also now Premiere Pro and you get hired and get paid more by, CBS Sunday Morning, as an assistant editor, that's success, So, and then maybe all the healthcare stuff that you learn, you go to the gym and work out and you kind of keep your body fit. So those are like the two aspects that's kind of improving health in society while also creating a job skill that people are like, oh, the arts, like whatever. Oh, video is king right now. Like I kind of, lost my job and I was able to kind of support myself with helping somebody create video content for their social media. So it's really like the thing now, like to do video. It's been the thing for a while. But now it's kind of like, all right, I have structure in my content that I can kind of do it really quickly. Where before it was like, oh, what do I think about now? How do I do this? Do I need to rent something? Do I have to have a space outside? Like now it's a structure. It's kind of like what they taught me with Open Gate was like, it's got to be reproducible. It's going to be a
Yeah.
play, and that's how you save money and can pump out content, and it just kind of fills in the gap. So the goal, to answer your question, I don't know if I answered it, but yeah, the STEM is part of it that I didn't realize, and now I am putting proposals together to get investors and to get grant funding to make it a more holistic, almost like a sustainable ecosystem for humans, really. So starting with Black and Latino filmmakers and healthcare careers too. Someone might be on the set, think they want to go into film, be like, no, no, I want to be an occupational therapist. I want to be an orthopedic surgeon. I want to be a physical therapist. I want to be a personal trainer. Like, that's fine too. So those are the 2, 3 trajectories. Is pretty much like, I want to be work in media, okay, in film. I want to work in a healthcare career, or maybe I can do both and do something even bigger and better. And maybe they become the director of gross anatomy, or the line producer for our show. So those are things that I really did think about, because yeah, I knew that if I didn't create my own destiny, it would be really hard to get hired. And if I did get hired, like, there's a limit to being like talent, producer, director, like a Tyler Perry. Like, that's kind of my goal. Like, I want to be like a Tyler
Yeah.
Perry, and
Like
that's
like
health.
doing everything.
Yeah, and that's some health, right? Health into it. So that's pretty much what I want to, what I do aspire to be and do. And I have a lot of different like ideas of different platforms to create as well down the road.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I think one thing that's interesting is it's not just about educating people in STEM, but also, educating people in like film and arts. So it's kind of like taking these two things that are very like, disparate, and kind of combining them together and saying, hey, if you want to get a career in STEM, be a physical therapist, occupational therapist, this can help with that. But also, if you want to go into media entertainment and be like an editor or a DP, that can also be another trail for you. So I like that you're kind of like merging these two things and saying like, hey, you can do both of these things, these very disparate things, and bringing them together.
And actor too, like
Yep.
the
Yeah,
type
exactly.
of acting too. A lot of times I remember I was just telling somebody the other day, I was like, I remember I did get an offer to be on like an off Broadway, like a pretty big production. I was at one of the off Broadway
Oh,
theaters, like,
nice.
after doing theater for like four years, something like that. And I was like, I can't believe I'm getting offered to play this role. It was like it was an understudy, but I got to perform in like 10 performances over the span of like a month. And I got the contract, but like literally I was gonna perform the next day, and there was too many lines to like do it. And like it was also like I got the manager, the stage manager emailed me like, if it's 11:34 right now, stage manager's like, oh yeah, tomorrow we have a performance at 6 p.m. And I didn't rehearse, and it was like by 1 o'clock I would have had to be like rehearsing for like 2 hours. I was like, I can memorize lines like crazy. Like I can do that, but I need to know where I'm going on stage. And like,
Yeah, you need the directions.
and then they were like, yeah, no, you're right. This is really way too short notice. It wouldn't be fair. It really wouldn't be fair. But there was a moment where I was like, oh, I can make a living off of this. Like, it wasn't like low money. It was decent money. Like, I was
Yeah,
like,
that's exciting.
this is exciting. And it was, I was able to still be a clinician in the clinic. But that, I actually did a short film. I got paid for that, not too long ago. It was just 3 of us. And he actually was in Newark Film Festival. So really awesome director. Adam Smith, awesome guy. And so Adam B. Smith on Facebook. But so I realized like, no, this is not just like, starving artist thing. It's also depends on like how hungry you are, like going to auditions and I mean, talent. Yeah. Like, going and learning something new, different styles of acting, watching, learning, practicing, doing your own thing, versus being like, I want to be an actor, but you don't really do the action steps. Like, that's the difference. And I realized like, oh, you can make a living off this. So I also want to tell the team, because we had a VHS camera, but it wasn't like, it was to capture family moments. It wasn't to use it as a tool to make money. It wasn't like, and there's other people who've done it as, they grew up 12 years old and I love this thing, and they played and they became like VFX artists by the time they were 16. For me, that wasn't really a reality. That was me being like, I want to be on TV, but I don't know how to get there. I don't really think it's possible. But let me just be wishful, because I was so closed in. I was like, I have nothing to lose. So as I got older, I remember that first opportunity I got. I was like, oh no, this could be a thing. And I had an agent who was a manager interested in me, but she wanted me to be like in soap operas and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, this is like early in my acting. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. And so, I could have been making more money and, been in a different place right now, but I knew exactly what I wanted to do. It just wasn't completely formulated, but now I'm like, oh, I have it, I can do it. But I want kids, when I say kids, I mean like, teenagers, because I think
Yeah.
kids is great, right? 6, 7 years old, you're influenced. But I think by the time you're like 16, 17, that's when you really make action plans to do something or nothing, or you get lazier. You're never exposed to like Premiere Pro, and that could be the determining factor of you being like, oh, I want to be on this all day long, and you become an expert editor and get hired by the time you're 22. So the goal, even in my mind, is like, if you come work for me, and you have this internship that's paid like livable wages, not like, you know, $12.95 an hour or 15, even like 20, but you know, $20 for a lot of undocumented or even first generation kids who come here, born here. That's a lot of money. You know, that
Yeah.
helps the family out. So by the time you come in at 17, we train you. By the time you're 20, I mean, you're a sponge. If you're interested, by the time you're 20, you can be a pretty intermediate editor and use, the Adobe Cloud, Photoshop, Illustrator. You know, you could go into motion graphics only, and go into editing, you could go into post-production, coloring, a lot of different things. So like instead of going to college and spending hundreds of thousands, which I went to grad school, I had tons of student loans, but instead of going to college, if you don't want to go that route, by 2 years in, you have a pretty good foundation of production. You can go get a job, or you can start your own thing. You can work for me and you get raises. Or if you're really fast, and you can go to a conservatory, you can go to like UCLA or something, film school, or you can go to college if you want to. But I think at that late teenage stage, early adulthood, like 20s, is when, like, college, like, first year, people don't know what their exploratory majors or whatever it's called. Um, that's like the turning point where if you show someone like, hey, you can be an actor and make money and you get paid. That's a real thing. It's not just like your parents aren't wrong. They're not right about that. You can be a starving artist. It just depends on how much work you want to do. So it's just an alternative to higher education, into the arts as well. So yeah, STEM and arts. Right now, arts YouTubers are making six figures. That's art. That really is art. What Banksy is selling stuff for millions and millions of dollars and then trashing it. Writes on the toilet paper and it's worth like
Yeah.
$500,000. So I think there's like, it's not just about being behind the computer, behind the camera. There's so many other ways that you can do it. It could be writing, like you could be the writer. You could literally, all you can do is write. So I hate writing. It's funny. I hate writing. I remember my brother years ago was like, you should start a blog. You need a blog. Blogs make a lot of money. I kind of started it for like a month. I was like, and now I write all the time. So those are things I want young adults to really see and get motivated by, where the parents are like, oh, you're always in your room, you're so depressed, you're always on your phone, computer. Give them something to kind of explore something. And I'm trying to give that aspect where I feel like I can give you like a lot of different aspects of coding too. Like you can code like a plugin for After Effects. If you have a little basic coding, well, go figure it out. We want to make this special effect, go learn it. So those are the things that I hope that with this educational series that the public, and so what we create, like you see on YouTube or one day maybe on like Amazon, Nickelodeon, Discovery Channel, Netflix, whatever it is, the public learns, but you have something to do with that, and people take initiative into taking care of their bodies. Like Marie Kondo tidying up, like that's exactly what I'm doing. Queen's Gambit, they sold chessboards. Like
Yep.
this company should be thanking that producer and writer for that show. So that's kind of like the goal, is that this show makes you so freaking happy and it's ridiculous and you're relatable too, that you want to tell your sister, hey, I saw this show and it talked about your knee and you have the same issues. You should check it out. And it's hilarious, And so, and then that, or like you watching, just cracking it up and you have nothing wrong with you. But then like a year later, your ankle kind of messes up and then you recall that episode, you're like, oh, and then you can take care of it, which is what people tell me. I get comments on Facebook like, that helped me. Thank you for, and I was like, really? Like, it was such a silly one exercise video. Like, it's very short. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess there is more impact than I thought.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
So that's kind of the thing. I want them to be people to be part of that educational component. So it's like, as Jeff Gomez says, it's a collective journey. It's not just about like me creating a content for you to learn. It's me creating content for you to tell your friends who are hurting and in pain or have a problem, and for me and my team to create and learn from each other about different technologies emerging, media stuff, even stories, So getting story, like someone comes in like, oh my gosh, I have the funniest story, my true story. But I'll say, pretend like in the future, one of my writers comes in and says, oh my gosh, I just heard the funniest story from my friend. She was having an orgasm and her neck went out and it spasmed.
Oh God.
That's a real thing. That
Yeah.
true story that happened to me in the clinic. Well, not me, a patient told me this story, but that's like a scenario that if I can have several members part of this studio content series, um, that I think it'll be just so much more. It'll flourish way more. So that's kind of the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So what advice would you have for people who are looking to get into, either content creation or acting or any sort of field associated with the arts?
Just do it. As cliche as it sounds, yeah. Like I had a friend who went to theater school, AMDA, or one of the other ones. Yeah, they went to AMDA, and they kind of were chatting with me. They're like, we both kind of admire because you just go for it. You have no like filter, and a lot of people kind of hold back. I think don't get me wrong, man. Like I was so uncomfortable in front of the camera. Like my little sister, she was chubby, but she would take selfies and dress sexy, and she didn't give a f. Like
Really? Wow.
I would tease her all the time. And I learned from her. I learned that confidence. And I kind of appreciate her. If her listens to this, I appreciate her so much. Because I remember when I was a TV show host for like Brick TV doing reality shows, I was very awkward. Like I didn't feel comfortable. And I do feel comfortable wearing a wig, makeup, and like a mustache. Like I feel more comfortable being a character. That is true.
Yeah,
But
like
I'm
playing
definitely,
someone else.
yeah, right. But I'm definitely, which I love. That also it makes me like silly, but I love it. But then I'm also more comfortable being myself on camera. But it took practice. It took years. Even now, like the times I'd see myself like, oh, I didn't look super comfortable. It's because I'm thinking about, is the camera in focus? Is the lighting right? Is my mic turned on? Like it's always like this cycle. Damn it. And I do this. Um, and so it takes time, and it's just repetition, dude. Like I'm sure in your creative endeavors, even podcasting. I'm sure like just repetition, just do it. And
Yeah.
kind of 10 years later, you're an overnight success. You know, but just doing it, being awful on camera, just mess up, be stupid, uh, say something dumb, because that's how you learn, really. Human body's kind of similar. I do stuff. I did CrossFit for 5 years, pretty religiously, and it was to learn, why my patients were getting hurt. And then when something broke down on myself, I kind of figure out, because I'm a therapist, I can kind of figure out what happened so I can transfer to other people. So, but the point is, like, I had to push myself to challenge my body, to challenge things, and that would I improved and I kind of learned something. With the body, with film, with art, repetition is the key. You learn by doing. And Kobe Bryant said that, he's like, why am I going to go to college when I can just start practicing now and just like practice it? You know, I always kind of think, do I regret not going to, I regret not doing a double major at Ithaca College, because Ithaca has a pretty good film program. All my friends are
Yeah.
film people, and that's kind of who helped me kind of, hey, I have a question about Final Cut Pro, and they would answer it. And so I kind of regret not doing a minor in film while I was going to PT, but PT school was like pretty intense. But that was a U.S. history minor. So I think I loved U.S. history. I still to this day watch anything U.S. history, World War II related, like any of that stuff. And I think that taught me storytelling, because U.S. history is really just a story. It's really just the story of America and like all the crazy things that we did to each other and do to each other still. Um, so I think it really is just like, just do it. The sooner you get it done. And it really could be, you don't have to put it out for the world. When you put it out for the world, you get feedback on how to improve it. But when you just do it for yourself, that's fine. Like that's how I learned to sing, like I would just record myself and play myself back and record. Oh my gosh, that was flat. And I record and just redo it, do it again. Keep it to yourself and just watch. And then one day you'll be like, oh, this is freaking awesome. I'm gonna put this out. Like you'll get to that point. So that's my advice. And I know a lot of people went to film school, theater, who are scared to put content out there and scared to do, or actors, to put stuff out there, or go audition. Audition the same thing. Like I remember I spent a year auditioning on Backstage like crazy, and I got a call back, and I was in the scene with Kari, um, uh, Karen something. He's in Tangerine. He's a cab driver. Did you see Tangerine?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So I think he's like a Russian actor. He's in indie films. He's actually a pretty prominent actor. And I was in a scene with him as like his assistant, and it was paid, and we ate amazing food, and it was like a award-winning director. Not just an award-winning director, but it was because I was going to auditions and just didn't give a crap. I was scared as beans, but I just didn't care. I just kept going for like a full year, and I got a call back. and then for a doctor, like a featured role, and then they're like, no, we're going to use you as an assistant. He works in a rug company, and I got to work alongside this like now pretty prominent actor in the indie world. It was in Tangerine. He's a cab driver. So I was like, oh, I worked with him. That was so cool. My scene got cut out. They could
Oh,
send me the email very kindly. Like, sorry, Adrian, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully, like the pay and the food was great. And, but we cut out your scene. So
yeah, that happens.
to the premiere, and I saw the photos on Facebook of the premiere on the red carpet. And I was like, oh. But the point of that was like, that's a win to me. That was like, I didn't go to film school. I didn't go to acting school. I just started acting, I think at that point, like 3 years before, but it was because I kept auditioning, getting shows and doing things and just going for it, just kind of like that nervous anxiety you get, just say like, F it, just push it down. It gets easier and easier, but it's not easy, it's not easy at all. Sometimes I wonder like, how the heck did I get into this? It's kind of shy. I was a shy kid, still kind of shy. Unless you give me some crazy makeup and a wig, and I'm there. But I think it's definitely a lot of fear. And so like if you have fear, read books. There's a lot of books out there by Tim Ferriss or Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk, and learn about fear and how to kind of calm it down. I mean, it happens all the time right now. Like I think about like, when I have to pitch to a producer, an executive, like I'm like, I think I'm super ready, like that's the day I'll be comfortable. But when my lawyer was talking to Zero Gravity, I was nervous all day. I was nervous all day. So that stuff doesn't go away. And from like, when I see people who are like celebrities, and like I was watching the Shawn Mendes documentary, it's like, yeah, I'm super nervous before I go out. I'm like, okay, so when you're at the top, it doesn't change. So I think that nervousness still tells you that you care about something.
Yeah.
But it's not easy. Like arts is not easy. Putting yourself out there, like I think like the hardest job is a stand-up comedian, right? You have a microphone, you have to tell a funny story, make people laugh.
Oh God, yeah, I would be terrified to do that. Like just to come up with like all these jokes and just
Mhm.
make people laugh. And just you're just like facing the audience and it's just you. That is
Yeah,
terrifying.
exactly. So, but to answer your question, just do it. And if you don't want to do it out to the world, just do it to yourself. Videotape yourself, and or if it's just an edit, like even if you're not in front of the camera, like it could be anything. Make a motion graphic, something like a lyric video, and do it. Watch it yourself and see how you feel first, and then you can put it out. Otherwise, just like say whatever, and just put it out, and just put stuff out there. There's a lot of stuff I didn't put out too. There's like a lot of stuff I could have done more of, and I wish I could have done more of. But there's also pay the bills.
Yep.
And you also have to kind of, as Jeff Dever told me, he's like, make time for yourself. Like don't get overly obsessive about it. And don't get me wrong, I think about stuff all the time. Like the pilot, thinking about everything, about how to plant the microphone for the first scene, how to hide it. I'm thinking about, what do I give the other actors in the Bruce Lee scene? Like I have I have these black masks, or do I get them like a full ski mask that's like affordable for like $2 at like, like Chinatown and or like the souvenir stores where they sell like hoodie beanies and like face ski masks for like, $2 or $3. So like I'm like deciding that all the time while I'm watching like the news in the morning or laying down relaxing watching Netflix. But he was like, just don't obsess over it. Like, make sure you pay your bills, make sure you're relaxed, make sure you take time out to yourself. So that's also something that I can work on as well. But I would say just kind of do stuff. Always be creating something. And I think it's easier. It's like an exponential thing. Like I have a whiteboard that I write down. I could just fill that up right now, and it's just, but then, and the nerves, to answer your question, is like the nerves get better. The nerves get better once you get more confidence in doing stuff.
Yeah, I think definitely doing things is the best way because that's the way you learn. Like you can, go to as many classes or watch as many, seminars or anything as much as you want, but really the best way to learn something is just to do it and then just to learn from your mistakes and then, do it better the next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's funny because I used to watch a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk and Tony Robbins, a ton, and Film Riot and like Justin Odisha and all the film guys on YouTube. And there was a point where I remember like walking to my clinic and I was watching Gary Vaynerchuk in the morning, and I was like, okay, I'm done watching this. It's the same thing over and over. And I was like, all right, it's time to do it. And I already stopped doing it. And I remember like going back to it like a year later, and he's at a conference like, if you're here for the second time, you need to leave. Like you need to go
It's
do
true.
what you need to do. He's like, if you're watching this video, You need to get off and go do whatever it is you know. And I was like, that's exactly right. Because you can get so consumed in like learning, and you never really pull the trigger. Pulling the trigger is what gets you there. You know.
Exactly. So thank you so much for your time. I'm wondering if anyone wants to see your work, where can they go to see it?
Definitely, I post almost everything on Facebook. So even if it's a YouTube link, like go to my Facebook. But it's Adrian MPT, Facebook/Adrian MPT. My Instagram just started, believe it or not. I know I'm like the only film person that doesn't have an Instagram account,
Very
but it's
late
just
to the party.
yeah, it's Gross Anatomy Studios, just like my shirt says, Gross Anatomy Studios on Instagram. And then YouTube, if you just type in Gross Anatomy, like Gross Anatomy like elbow pain, Gross Anatomy knee pain, Gross Anatomy um, back pain, like you'll find the stuff.
Well, thank you so much, Adrian. This was a wonderful conversation. I learned a lot of great things, and I wish you the best of luck on your web series.
Awesome. I appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck as well.
All right. Thank you. Take care and have a great day.
You too. Take
And
care.
Happy New Year.
You too, right? Happy New Year.